I hope you're all doing well. I'm going to make a quick video on the following topics just to help out a friend of mine who has missed school and couldn't be there for 2 weeks. So Matthew, this is especially for you, but also for others who would like to go through this video with me and just to recap and revise and consolidate the topics of whole numbers. Okay, so the topics that will be covered in this video is order of operation, factors and multiples, and ratio and rate. So if that's something that you are writing about soon, this is a good video just to go through, just to make sure that you remember all the nitty-gritty things that you need to know and that you are well prepared for the test. All right, so we're going to start with the order of operation, which we know as either BEDMAS or BODMAS. So just to show you how it changes from grade 7 to 8 to BODMAS, the BODMAS becomes the BEDMAS, which is the first one is brackets. That is the first thing that you always do, that your eyes are like focused on. You go immediately to your brackets, and that is what you need to sort out first. Then also your exponents. So in grade 7 to 8, it changes from the of, which is a times sign, to e for exponents. So if you've got a negative times by a negative 2 to the power of 2, just to show you with exponents, you are first going to do your bracket and your exponent like that. And then I hope, if you don't know this yet, don't stress about it. It's just to indicate or show you where the exponents are coming in. A negative 2 times a negative 2 makes a positive 4. So what is left on the outside? A negative, and then inside became a 4. Because a negative times a negative becomes a positive. So if you haven't learned that yet, that is something to come. So if they are the same, it's always a positive. So a positive times a positive is also a positive. But when they are different, like a positive times a negative, that will give you a negative, or a negative times a positive also gives you a negative. Okay, so what it means is your brackets and exponents first, then the negative goes in, so your answer is negative 4. Okay, but if you haven't studied that yet, that's okay. It's just a little bit of a stretch. So that is why BODMAS, if you notice, BODMAS becomes BEDMAS. Okay, division and multiplication happens at the same time. So I always say they've got the same ranking. If it's a king and a queen, they're both kings. All right, so division and multiplication. And if you are left with just division and multiplication, you work from left to right. So as you write, work from left to right. Okay, then the same with the addition and subtraction. They are on the same ranking page, or they're the same strength. So the positive and the negative, again, if you're left with just positive and negative, you work from left to right. Okay, and that is your order of operation. And people, you don't just use it when they say to use it. They won't just say, use the order of operation to do the following. You must always apply BEDMAS. Even if it's asked or even if it's not asked, you always apply your BEDMAS. Okay, so let's look at a few sums together. All right, so these are a few sums that I've taken from the Play Mathematics Learner book. So if you are using that, it's a full-in book. It's on page 11. All right, so Play Mathematics. So although the numbering is different, I've just taken a few questions from there. So let's quickly have a look together. So again, your division and multiplication. So over here, can you see you've got no brackets? No brackets, so you move on to exponents, which we are not actually doing yet. So then your division and multiplication. So there is division over here. So you are more than welcome just to help yourself to go and put brackets around that. Nothing is stopping you, just to help force you to do those first. So you're going to say 56 divided by 7 is 8, plus, and 7 times 3 is 21, and then you are only allowed to add, which will give you 29. All right, over here there is a bracket, so 12 minus 4 is 8. So you can rewrite it if you want with every step. Nothing is stopping you, and I think you still have enough time in school to do that. And now first we're going to do the division. So again, if you want to just help yourself by enforcing a bracket there, you can. And then that simplified is 4 plus 24, which is equal to 28. All right, so do these with me. If you want to first try it by yourself and just check the answer, just pause the video and unpause, work it as you need it. Okay, so now here's 8 times, but first I need to do my bracket. So I'm just going to rewrite the sum exactly like it is, and then I'm going to simplify the 5 plus 3, which gives you 8 minus 8. Then you wait, then you step back and you say, all right, what now? Then it's multiplication. They are stronger than adding and subtracting. So it's 6 plus 8 times 8 is 64 minus 8. And that then is a straightforward sum that you're going to do and work out perhaps on the side, because plus and minus, if you're left with plus and minus, you're going to work from left to right. All right, and that your answer should be 62. Over here, again, first your bracket. So if you need to, rewrite your whole sum, and then first step is simplify your bracket. 12 minus 4 is 8 times 5 divided by 4. Okay, now the plus needs to happen at last. Okay, so this multiplication and division has to happen first. And if you've got multiplication and division, you are going to work from left to right. So you are more than welcome to go and put brackets around and say 35 plus 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 5 is 40, yes, and divide that by 4, and it gives you 10. Okay, so 40 divided by 4 gives you 10, and 35 plus 10 gives you 45. Okay, easy peasy. If you want to pause and do those two sums first and then check your answer, you can do that. Okay, if you're not too sure and you want to work with me, we're going to say 45 divided by 3 first, and that we're going to simplify as 15 plus 8 times. So if you need to write it all in steps, you can. And then we're going to simplify this bracket, which is 9 minus 3, which is 6. Okay, then you look at your next step. What do we have to do first? We need to do the multiplication. I just want to quickly, you say, but ma'am, why did you do the division here first and then the brackets? It didn't really matter if I did that one sneakily as I went on. Just before I did the other one, it's not going to make a difference to my sum. But if you wanted to rewrite it first and first do the bracket, you do it in baby steps if needs be. Okay, so 8 times and 9 minus 3 is 6, and then we've got 15 plus, and 8 times 6 gives you 48. And if you add the 15 to that, it gives you 63. Right, let's look at the last one. So 40 minus 4 times 6 plus 3 is, so this is the first thing that we're going to do. We're going to first, like your eyes are like a moth to a flame, I always say. Your eyes must be drawn to that bracket. So that bracket needs to be simplified first. It doesn't matter what operation is inside it, you do the bracket first. So 6 plus 3 is 9 divided by 6. So now we are left with multiplication, division, and minus. So what are we going to do first? Multiplication and division, they sort of lie on the same ranking. So if they are all there, we're going to work them from left to right. So 4 times 9 is 36. And if you divide that by 6, it gives you 6. So 4 times 9 is 36. And 36 divided by 6 is 6. And 40 minus 6 gives you 34. All right. So there you go. There's your order of operation. I would like to challenge you maybe with one harder one right at the bottom over here. Before you move on, if you want to check whether you can do it right, then pause the video and check whether you can do it and then mark yourself. All right, so there's the sum. If you want to quickly have a look whether you can do it just a little bit longer, just follow your BEDMAS. Make sure that you do your multiplication, division, your brackets first. Okay, so I'm going to quickly do that. So that is equal to 2 plus 3 times 5 is 15 minus. So again, we're going to do the division here as well as this. You can do it at the same time. You could have written it all over again and then just in the next step simplified that. But 15 divided by 3 is 5 plus, and then you had to do the 4 times 6 as well. So 4 times 6 is 24. And then if you work that out, 2 plus 15 is 17 minus 5 is 12. And 12 plus 24 gives you 36. Okay, were you able to do that? I hope so. Okay, and then I just want to quickly explain to you factors versus prime factors. So when they ask you what are the factors of these numbers and what are the prime factors of these numbers. Okay, so factors, I think we all know, are numbers that are divides into another number without leaving a remainder. So in essence, it leaves you with a whole number. Okay, where a prime factor is just the prime numbers that a number is made up out of. Okay, so prime factors, I just want to quickly explain to you. If you think of prime numbers are, is a 2, a 3, a 5, a 7, 11, and it carries on like that. So can you believe it? Every single number in the world is made up out of a product. What does a product mean? A multiplication of prime numbers. So, for example, 6 will be made up out of 2 times 3. 15 is made up out of 3 times 5. 8 is made up out of 2 times 2 times 2. 35, or let's say 25 times 3, 75 is made up out of 5, let me quickly see, a 3 times a 5 times a 5. So every single number that you can think of is made up out of prime numbers, the product of it. And what does the product mean? Multiplication of it. Okay, so if I say to you, write down the factors of, let's take one of 24. So these are all the numbers that it is divisible by, all the numbers that are divisible by, all numbers that are you're going to divide with 24 with, and it gives you a remainder. So you always start with 1. 1 will be your first one. Then, is 24 an even number? Yes, so it's divisible by 2. Is 24 divided by 3? Yes, so it can be divided by 3, which gives you 8. So we've got a 3, and we know that it's got an 8 at the back. If you take 2, 24 divided by 2 gives you 12. So there will be a 12 as well. Then, can 24 be divided by 4? Yes, and if you divide it by 4, it gives you 6. And then those are your factors. So you can go and rewrite these closer to it, which was 8 and 12. So those are all your factors of 24. Okay, but now if I say to you, what is the prime factor of 24? So write down the prime factors of 24. Then you're going to break it down into a product of its primes. And I know lots of you do it's either the ladder method, so I'm going to explain to you quickly both. So you're only allowed to divide with prime numbers. What are our prime numbers again? These are the ones that we normally work with. Okay, so we're going to divide it by 2. Why? Because it's an equal number. And then you get 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. And that is where you stop. Okay, so if you look over here, 3 is also a prime number. Okay, the other way that I've seen you guys do it, you say 24 is made up out of 12 times by 2. Okay, but the 12 can go further, and we make it 6 times 2. And then this 6 over here can go further, and it's 3 times 2. So can you see what you are left with? We've got a 2, a 2, and a 2, and a 3. Same as here, a 2, and a 2, and a 2, and a 3. Okay, so how do you write these product of its primes? You're going to say 24 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. But now, what if it's like a big number? You're going to have like 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And so we want to stack these. We want to write them in exponential form. So I'm going to write it over here. This is what we call exponential form. And I always say it's where you stack it or you squish it together. So 24 is made up out of, so how many 2's are there? 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 2 to the power 3 times 3 to the power of. If there's only 1, you can only write 3, or you're more than welcome to go and put a little 1 over there. Okay, so that is the way that you write the factors, the prime factors. And just the factors are numbers that is divisible by 24 that doesn't leave a remainder. Okay, so just to show you the difference of those two, if you get asked that in a test. Okay, so the prime factors, let me do another one where I ask you to write down the prime factors, because we're also going to use it a lot when we do the HCF and the LCM. Okay, so let's do the prime factors of 45. Okay, so if you want to do the ladder method, you can. So 45 we can see is easily divisible by, where's our prime factors? Prime numbers, sorry, is divisible by 5. So 45 divided by 5 is 9. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And there at 1 I stop. Okay, so 45, let me do it the other way as well, can be written as let's say 15 times 3. Sorry, now I've done, yes, yeah, so sorry, 15 times 3. And now the 15 can go further, which is 5 times 3. And then we've got prime numbers, only prime numbers left. So 5, a 3, and a 3. And over here, it just stacks them underneath each other like that. So if you take 45 and you equal it, you get 3 times 3 times 5. But now, if I want to write it in exponential form, it's going to be 3 to the power of 2 times 5 to the power of 1, or just 5. Okay, so you don't have to write that one. You can leave it like that. Okay, and that brings us to my next section, which is the HCF and the LCM. And our biggest focus, let me rather make a nice summary. Okay, and yeah, our biggest focus is the HCF. That is something that we will use going forward quite a lot, is the HCF. All right, so let me quickly show you the summary, and I even wrote you the steps. So the highest common factor, and I always say you do the opposite of the name, highest. Okay, but I'll show you in the steps why. So step 1, we're going to write out the product of the prime. So let's quickly look. If we want to find, let's say, the HCF, oopsie, sorry, that's too big either. So the HCF of 24, let's just use these ones that we know now the product of its primes, and 45. Okay, so they say to you, find the HCF of 24 and 45. Then we're going to say, sorry, I'm just looking for another color. Step 2, so write out the product of its prime. So 24 we know is, let's just go and look again, is 2 to the power 3 times 3 to the power 1. And then the next one is 45, which is equal to, and we wrote it down here, 3 squared minus 5. Oh, sorry, not minus 5, times by 5. Sorry, 3 squared times by 5. Now we are only allowed to use only the primes that comes across in both numbers. So can you see a 2? There's no other 2 here. There's a 3 and there's a 3. So the only number that comes across in both the prime base is a 3 squared and a 3. Okay, because they both have a 3, 3. And then, if they are the same, so if there are overlapses, use the prime with the lowest exponent. So very important, the one that's to the power 1 or to the power 2, you use the one with the lowest exponent. So the HCF of 24 and 45, you've guessed it, is 3. Okay, so 3 to the power 1 or 3. Oopsie. Okay, so let's do that again. Let's quickly write down the product of its primes for 2 different numbers. Let's do find the HCF of, let's say, let's do 3 of them. 12, 36, and 48. Okay, so I'm going to quickly give you time to go and write down the product of their primes for each number, and then we're going to resume from there. Okay, I hope you got those answers for the product of their primes. And then we're going to say, all right, so step 2, let's just go to our steps. Use only the primes that comes across in both numbers, or in this case, all 3 numbers. So can you see that there's a 2, a 2, and a 2 in all 3 of them? But remember, because it's the highest common factor, we're going to use the lowest exponent. Okay, so which one has the lowest exponent? There's a 2, and a 4. Definitely not the 4. We're going to use the one with the lowest exponent. Then we're going to times. So now can you see there's 3 with all of them as well? There's a 3, and a 3. This one, if there's nothing, remember, is to the power 1. And there's a 2 to the power 2. So definitely the one that is the lowest, which is 3 to the power 1. So the HCF of 12, 36, and 48, you've guessed it, is 4 times 3, which gives you 12. Okay, happiness. Let's do one more. So I'm going to write down the product, you write down the product of the primes of the following 3. Okay, so let's find the HCF of 24, 42, and 60. So HCF of 24, 42, and 60. Okay, and even if you're just doing it for revision, please do it. Do work your hardest. Make sure that you understand and mark yourself. Okay, so I'm going to quickly write down the prime factors. All right, so there we go. I hope you got it all right. Double check yourself. Now we can only use the number that comes across all throughout all 3 numbers. So can you see that they all contain a 2? Okay, but we have to use the one with the lowest exponent. So there's a 1, a 2, and a 3. So thus we're going to use 2 to the power of 1. Then they each have a 3 and they all raise to the power 1. So the lowest is to the power 1. And can you see that there's no 7, no 5 over there? So we are going to just ignore these 2 numbers. We are not going to write it down as our HCF. And then 2 to the power 1 times 3 is 6. So the HCF, the highest common factor that we can take out from 24, 42, and 60 is a 6. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to quickly explain the LCM, the lowest common multiple. So this is where you are writing the multiples of that number. So if I write the multiples of 12, let's say, and the multiples of 4, you're going to write 4, 8, 12, so you always start with that number, and then 16, etc., etc. Then the multiples of 12 is 12, 24. So can you see we already have the lowest common multiple, which is 12. So the first number that you see that is repetitive in both numbers. Okay, I'm just going to do another quick one. So the multiples, let's do different ones. Let's do 5 and 3. So the multiples of 5, the multiples of 3 is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. People, for this one, you must all get 100%, ne? And 15. I've got my common multiple, then I can stop. So the LCM for 5 and 3, sorry, you can't see that 5 and 3 so nicely. For 5 and 3 is 15. Okay. Then I want us to quickly get to a bit of ratio and rate. I think that's very important, and you can even look on my channel. There's other videos that explains all the ratio and rate for grade 8, which is very similar to grade 7, maybe a little bit harder where you need a calculator to do so. We do use calculators in grade 8 in our school. We start sort of from not the very first test, but from the second or third test, we start using our calculators. Okay, so let me quickly set up, and then we have a look at ratio rate. Okay, let's quickly look at the last sort of topic that we're going to address in this video, where it's ratio and rate. So when they say to you simplify the following ratios, you want to divide with a number that is divisible with all three of those. I've given you 3 because it's the biggest, or you can get 4 as well, but 2 is sometimes too easy. So I thought, let me write down 3 numbers or 3 ratio parts. Okay. So you want to find a number that is divisible all throughout with all of these 3 terms. So if you can see that each of these are divisible by 5, so you're going to divide them all by 5, and 5 divided by 5 is 1, 15 divided by 5 is 3, 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay, so your simplified ratio part is 1 to 3 to 2. Over here, I'm going to start by dividing with 2 all throughout. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, 10 divided by 2 is 5, 8 divided by 2 is 4. And as soon as you hit a prime number, there's a prime number, there's a prime number, then you know that you can't go any further. Okay, so you know then that you can stop once you hit a prime number. So that's how I say it. Okay, so over here, I don't know what it is, if it's the biggest HCF that I'm dividing now with, but I'm going to start to divide by 2 with each side. So not with each side, all throughout. And then I'm ending up with this, 18 to the ratio 9 to the ratio 27. And then again, hopefully you can see that I can now go ahead again and divide by 3, because they're all divisible nicely with 3. And 18 divided by 3 is 6, 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. Okay, and have I hit a prime number? Yes, that 3 is a prime number, so I know that is the simplest I can go. All right, so this one as well, a bit hard, but I'm going to divide by 2, as I know that they're all even numbers. They should be divisible by 2, which gives me 56 to the ratio 32, to the ratio 128 divided by 2 is 64. And again, I'm going to divide by 2 all throughout, because again, I'm ending up with even numbers, 16 and 32. Again, I'm going to divide by 2 all throughout, and you keep going until you hit a prime number. 14 to the ratio 8. 32 divided by 2 is 16. Again, I'm going to divide by 2 all throughout. And at last, I hit a prime number, which is 7, which I know then it can't go any further. All right, so 112 to the ratio 64 to the ratio 128 simplified is 7 to 4 to 8. Okay, now very important. when you deal with ratios, it must always be in the same unit. You cannot simplify ratios where it's got two different units. Why? Because you are going to drop your units. So you are not allowed to write your units after you've gotten them to the same unit. Okay, so what I mean is, and it's always the easiest to take the bigger one to the smaller unit. So I'm going to write here, easier, not impossible, but easier to take the bigger part to the smaller part. Okay, so what I mean is, rather take the bigger one, 4 kilogram, 2 grams. Okay, so 4 kilogram written as grams, there is 1,000 grams in a kilogram. Okay, so we have to times by 4, which gives me 4,000 to 2,000. So do you see, as soon as I've got the same grams and grams, I do not write the unit. So as long as I've got the same unit, I do not write them anymore. And then if you want to, you can divide by 1,000, which gives you 4 to 2, and I can still go ahead and divide out, which gives you 2 to 1. Okay, over here as well, I'm taking the bigger unit and I'm converting it to the smaller unit, which is meters. So I'm going to times, there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So it's going to be 6,000 to the ratio 4,000. Again, I do not write my units from here going forward. I'm going to divide by 1,000, which gives me 6 to 4, which you can simplify to 3 to 2. Okay, minutes and hours. So we're going to take the bigger one and convert it to the smaller one. So we know that there's 60 minutes in an hour. So it's going to be 40 to 60. Divide by 10, which gives you 4 to 6, which is 2 to 3. Okay, you never ever swap your ratio parts around. It has to stay in that order. First one, second one. Okay, so 21 days, 2 weeks. So we take the bigger one, 6 weeks has got 7 days each. So I times it by 7, which gives you 42 days. So it's going to be 21, to 42. And if I divide by 21 on each side, I'll get 1 to 2. Okay, again, kilograms to grams. I'm going to take this and times it with 1,000, which will give me 2,000 to the ratio 750. Divide with 10, so it's 200 to the ratio 75. And then I can take each one and divide it by 5, which gives me 40 to the ratio 15. And again, I can divide it by 5, which gives me 8 to 3. Okay. Just want to quickly check. Did I say 8 to 3? All right. And the last one here, 70 days into weeks. We're going to take the weeks. We times it by 7 to make it into days. So 15 times 7 is 105 days to the ratio 70 days. And then I'm just going to divide by 5 all throughout, and then you should get 3 to 2. Okay, so you're going to keep on dividing by 5 on each side until you get to 3 to 2. All right, I hope that makes sense. When you are sharing a ratio, so when they say to divide 30 in the ratio 2 to 1 to 3, I just want to quickly do this one, as I saw a question in the playbook, and I thought, let me just quickly explain that. So when you divide 30 in the ratio 2 to 1 to 3, it means that the first step is step 1. You must add your ratio parts. Okay, so a bit of limited space here, but you're going to say 2 plus 1 plus 3. And 2 plus 1 is 3 plus 3 is 6. So thus there's 6 parts in your ratio. So now you're going to go and say, what did you want to divide? 30. So if you divide it by 6, you're going to get that each part is worth 5 units. Okay, so each part is worth 5. So if this guy gets 2, he gets 2 times the 5, which is 10. This guy got 1 out of the 5 parts, so 1 times 5 is 5. And this one got 3 of the 5, which makes it 15. And then there is 30 divided in the ratio 2 to 1 to 3. So when you add these together, it should give you 30 again. Okay, I'm just going to explain to you another one because I feel like, I can do another one with you. Okay, if you look at this one, divide 96 in the ratio 5 to 7. So your first step is where we add the ratio parts together. So 5 plus 7 is equal to 12 parts altogether. Okay, then you take the number that you have to divide it with. Then you say 96 divided by 12 gives you 8. So each ratio part is worth 8, whatever it may be, 8 rand or 8 cattle, whatever it could be. So now we're going to say, all right, but if this one gets 5 times the 8, he's going to get 40. And if this one gets 7 times 8, he's going to get 56. And when you add your ratio parts together, it should give you that original 96. Okay, I hope you understand that. Okay, so let's quickly look at a rate. A rate compares two quantities of different types. So example, if you pay 28 Rand for 2 chocolates, you just want to get the rate per chocolate. So I hope common sense will say, well, if 28 Rand is equal to 2 chocolates, we want to find 1 chocolate that you have to say, well, 28 divided by 2 gives you 14 Rand per chocolate. Okay, sorry, that can also be written as, let me just redo that, as 14 Rand per chocolate. So whenever you see a stripe like that, it means per 1 chocolate. Okay, let's quickly have a look at these sums that are found in your textbook. Okay, so a machine fills 80 water bottles in 5 hours. So a machine fills 80 water bottles and it takes him 5 hours. So we want to know how many bottles does he fill per hour. So if I want to get per hour, I'll have to get per 1 hour. So I just want to show you how you can do this by writing it out. So how did I get from 5 to 1? By only dividing and multiplying. So I divided with 5. And because this is a direct proportion, which you'll still learn about in grade 8 and 9, but because the more water bottles, the more hours it will take to fill 80 water bottles in 5. How many bottles can be filled in 2 hours? Okay, yeah, so the more water bottles, the longer it will take. 80 water bottles in 5 hours. Let me just quickly think about that. Yes, sorry, because the machine fills the water bottle. So it's a machine, it's nothing. Okay, so anyway, it's a direct proportion. Don't stress about that. And now if we want to know how many water bottles does he do per hour, you're also going to divide this side by 5. So 80 divided by 5 gives you 16 water bottles per hour. And the way we write it as a rate is 16, let's abbreviate that, water bottles per hour, like that. Okay, and now they say to you, how long will it take to fill 48 bottles? So if 16 water bottles take 1 hour and we want to fill, takes 1 hour, and we want to fill 48 water bottles. So do you see I write the water bottles under each other and I write the hours under each other. So I say to myself, how did I get from 16 to 48? So basically saying 48 divided by 16. So I timesed by 3. Okay, so 16 times 3 gives me 48. And now I just need to apply it to the other side. I also times by 3, so it will take me 3 hours. Okay, so that's a nice way of saying you write up what you have, write down what you want, and then you say, how did I get the one side to balance to the other side? And then I do that in inverse on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do this again over here. It says Amy reads 10 pages of a book in 5 minutes. So 10 pages equals 5 minutes. At this rate, how long will it take her to read 25 pages? Okay, so first, let's see how long it takes her per page. All right, so let's not write the 25 up as yet. In the high school, we'll somewhere do it immediately. But let's say how long, or see how long it will take her per page. So how did I get from 10 to 1? I divided by 10, and what you do on the one side, you have to do on the other side. And be careful now, 5 divided by 10 is a half a minute. So you can either write it like this, 0.5 minutes, or you can write it as half a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to write that again. So 1 page, she reads in half a minute. How long will it take her to reach 25 pages? So again, how did I get from 1 to 25? I times by 25. What you do on the one side, you do on the other side. And a half times 25 is like saying a half times 25 is like saying a half of 25. And what is a half of 25? I hope you can do that in your head and know that it is 12.5 minutes. Okay. All right. So 25 divided by 2, which gives you 12.5. Okay. James and Simon work in a tuck shop. James works for 3 hours. So I'm going to write it here. James worked for 3 hours, and Simon worked for 5 hours. They are paid all together 480 Rand in total. How much should each get so that the money that the money that is divided, it's divided fairly? Okay, so I'm going to write it up as a ratio. James got 3 and Simon got 5. Oh, sorry, not 3. He worked 3 hours and Simon worked 5 hours. So obviously Simon should get more of the 480 Rand. Do you agree? Why? Because he got the biggest ratio part. He worked the hardest. So now I'm going to, it's a dividing 480 into the different two ratios. Do you see? So taking that money and I have to divide it between. So I've showed you that. What do we do first? We add our parts together. So in total there's 8 parts. So then you take the amount you want to divide and you say 480 divided by 8. And if you do that, you should get 60. So each part is worth 60 Rand. But now, remember, James must get 3 parts. So James will get 3 of the 60, which gives you 180. And Simon, he must get 5 of the 60, 5 60 Rands, which gives you 300. And then just to check yourself, if you add that together, it should give you the amount that you were sharing from the beginning. Okay, we are almost done. Almost done. Okay, pumps 1 and pump 2. Pumps 1 and 2 pump water in the same rate. Together, 13 liters, I think it should be 130 liters of water is pumped. Calculate the number of liters pumped by each pump if pump 1 is on for 2 hours and pump 2 is on for 3 hours. Okay, so this is a bit of a harder one. I just want to quickly correct that and then I'll start again. Okay, there we go. It was 135 liters. Okay, so now, because the one, they pump it at the same rate, But they say here at the end that pump 1 is on for 2 hours and pump 1 is on for 2 hours and pump 2 is on for 3 hours. So if you have to write that as a ratio, can you see that it will be 2 to the ratio 3? The one pumped for 2 hours and the other one for 3 hours. Okay, and together they pumped 135 liters. So do you see, for every 2 hours pump 1 was working, pump 2 was doing 3 hours. Okay, so it's dividing your ratio into your parts. So the first thing is 2 plus 3 is 5 parts altogether. Then you take your 135 and you divide it with 5, which gives you 27 liters per part. Okay, so this one pumped 2 parts. So if you take 2 parts and you multiply it, so pump 1, he did 2 parts times 27 liters, which will give you 54 liters altogether. And pump 2 pumped 3 liters of the 27 parts. So 3 times 27 is 81 liters. And remember to check yourself. If you add 81 plus 54, it should give you 135 liters altogether. Okay, just to double check. All right, so pump 1 pumped 54 liters and pump 2 pumped 81 liters. All right, so last one, distance, time, and speed. So very important. You do this all throughout. Even in science, you're going to get used to the triangle. And how this works is, it's just a way to remember what to divide with what. Okay, so if you've got distance, I always think of DSTV. And if you get confused, just remember the D is the first letter in the alphabet, which means he's the king. He's standing on top. So your distance is equal to speed times time. Time is equal to your distance divided by your speed. So time is equal to your distance divided by speed. But also the other way, speed is equal to your distance divided by time. So it creates a little fraction like that. Okay, so speed is equal to distance divided by time. Now with everything, speed, distance and time all go together when you are busy working with speed and time. Because speed, if you think of time is in hours, distance is in kilometers, and the time is in kilometers per hour. So all three of them go together. So we've got distance that works with, let me just write it in here, distance that works with kilometers, time that works with hours, and your speed is then in kilometers per hour. So they're all connected. So distance, time, and speed all comes together, and these are the formulas of how to know what to divide with what when working out a certain one of these, either the distance, the time, or the speed. So now they say to you, calculate the average speed in kilometers per hour for each of the following. So speed, if you look at speed, it's this one. And then I'm going to write it down. Speed is equal to distance divided by time. How do I remember that? By using my triangle. Speed is equal to distance divided by time. Okay, why? Because it creates like a fraction over there. Okay, so now the speed is equal to, if I say to you 200 kilometers traveled in 2 hours, can you see that this is your distance? Because that is the distance you covered was 200 kilometers. And this is your time because it took 2 hours. So it's your distance divided by your time, which is 2. So your speed was 100 kilometers per hour. Okay, so you'll never have per minute, kilometers per minute. We don't work with that. If minutes are given to you, and every now and then, I think more in grade 8, we work with minutes, but in grade 7, I think they all give it to you in hours. But every time they give it not in hours, you first have to convert it into hours before you can plug it into your formula. Okay, so here, 5 hours. So again, they want to know the speed. Speed is equal to the distance, which is 400 kilometers in this instance, divided by time. So your speed is equal to 80 kilometers per hour. Just want to make sure that's right. Here's one. All right. So they say to you, you traveled 55 kilometers in 30 minutes. Minutes does not go together with hours. Why? Because we work in kilometers per hour. But you guys know, and I don't think they'll use any in grade 8, we start using 45 minutes. We even use funny minutes like 35 minutes that doesn't have a perfect fraction or a rational fraction. There we go. So 55 kilometers traveled in 30 minutes. So you must remember 30 minutes you can rewrite as half an hour. Okay, either like that, or you can say half an hour. Okay, so we still stick to our formula. Speed is equal to the distance, which is 55, divided by a half. So I don't know if you've done fractions, but we never ever divide with a fraction. We will times, so we're going to change that into times, and we tip our fraction over. So that becomes 55 times 2, which is 110 over 1 times 1 is 1. So your speed here was 110 kilometers per hour. And I always tell my students, don't get ridiculous answers. We always try and give you real life answers that should make sense. So if you get an answer of 3,000 or 350 million thousand kilometers per hour, you know that it can't be. So you've done something wrong. Okay. So now here's a bit of a mixture. So Jade drives for 2 hours. So this is my time at 80 kilometers per hour. Can you see that that is your speed? So calculate the distance. So if you've got your triangle, and remember that, you can see that distance is equal to speed times time. So distance is equal to speed times time. Speed was 80 kilometers per hour and the time was 2 hours. So your distance is 160 kilometers. Okay, the next one. Jim drives for 2 hours. So can you see that that is your time? Oh, sorry. I didn't. Okay, wait. I see now. Excuse-moi. Jim drives for 2.5 hours. My computer, I struggle to get the 2.5. So 2.5 hours. So that is your time. At 120 kilometers per hour. This is your speed. Okay, calculate the distance covered. Distance is equal to, if you've got your little triangle, distance is equal to speed times time. Your speed is 120 kilometers. Your time is 2.5. And if you struggle with this, you can say, what is 2 times 120? Is 240. And what is half of 120, which is 60. So your distance is 300 kilometers. Okay, so 2 of those and a half of that, if you add it together, it gives you 300 kilometers. Okay, and here they ask you to work out the time. So John drives for 110 kilometers. That is your distance at 55 kilometers per hour. That is your speed. And calculate the time. So time is equal to distance divided by your speed. The distance is 110 divided by the speed. So the time, it goes in nicely there 2 times. So 2 hours. Okay, and I think here's the last question. There we go. You've made it. Well done. Matthew's going on holiday. His family travels to a holiday resort for 2 hours at an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour. When they returned from the holiday to home, they decreased their average speed to 100 kilometers per hour. Okay, so that is a mouthful. And if you need to draw drawings, you do so. So here they are at their home. They are traveling to their holiday resort. Holly jolly days. Okay, so there's the holiday resort over there. And this took them, which was 2 hours away, at an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour. Okay, then when they returned from the holiday, so when they went back, they decreased the average speed to 110 kilometers per hour. Okay, so that is all we know. Now they say to you, how far is the resort from their house, from his house? So now, can you see that this is their house, and this is the distance they traveled, and this is where their holiday was? So all we know is the time that it took them was 2 hours. And the speed that they traveled at was 120 kilometers per hour. So do you think we can work out the distance? Yes, we can. Distance is equal to speed times time. So it doesn't matter which way you write it. So the holiday resort is 240 kilometers away. Now, do you think when they're driving back, it will almost be the same amount that they are traveling back? It's one path. They didn't change routes or anything. So it's one route there, one route back. So on the way back, they traveled, so we know now, when they drove back, it took them the average speed to 100 kilometers per hour. So they decreased their speed. Why did I write 110? 100 kilometers per hour. Now they say, how long did it take him? So what are they looking for? They are looking for the time. Okay, to travel home. So do we know the distance? Yes, because we worked it out in our previous question. The distance is 240 kilometers, and we've got the speed. Okay, because remember they said, there goes our announcement. So I don't know where I left off. So the speed is 100 kilometers per hour, because they told me that in the when they went back, their average speed decreased to 100 kilometers per hour. Okay, so time is equal to, if you need to look at your triangle again, time is equal to distance divided by speed, and the distance is 240, divided by the speed is 100. So the time that it took is 2,4 hours. Now people, this is a little bit of an extension, but it's not 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's not 2 hours and 4 minutes. Please, these are all in hours. So what this means, it's 2 hours, and if I deduct 2 there, it's 0,4 of another hour. And 0,4 of another hour is 60 minutes. An hour is more 60 minutes. So 0,4 times 60, if you want, you could have punched it in your calculator, will give you 2 hours and 24 minutes. So it's just a bit of an extension, just something the kids love to do. They love to tell me it's 2.4, so it's 2 hours and 40 minutes or 2 hours and 4 minutes. It's not. Okay, it's 2 full hours and 0,4 of another hour, which we convert to 60 minutes. Okay, I always say, what if you get the answer 2.9? Then they tell me it's 2 hours and 9 minutes or 90 minutes. And then I say, but why didn't it become 3 hours? Anyway, so just something to look at, something to note. And then I just want to say all the best to Matthew, who's writing on Friday. And I hope the grade 7s that watch this, I hope it made some sense. Please follow me as you go into grade 8. There's lots of videos where I work through the curriculum. Mostly I work at an IB school that follow the IB curriculum. So please make note to follow. And hope that I can help you in some way. Have a great day further, grade 7s. Cheers. Bye.